who is the wealthier one that's making a lot of money, but he's not doing right things in his life. He's not spending time with his children and stepping on people's backs. I used that phrase last week. Proverbs 28:6. Better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. So, Misael, I've got a bunch of good quotes here, but I'm gonna give you the mic, the floor, for as long as you like, and then when you feel like taking a break or I can't hold back any longer, I'm going to hit you up on a whole bunch of stuff that I want to share on some of these quotes. So give me a break, give me a little rest here, and let me enjoy you.
Fantastic, Steve. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Well, last week we started talking about character, and we try to make the best use of time back at the very end of that call last week. But today we can get a little deeper. And the first thing I would like for us to think about, and Steve, I would like, if you want a little bit of interaction here, is I would like for us to give some definition as to what character is, because it is important that we understand what actually character is. We hear the word a lot, and we talk about character in different ways. But I want to make sure that we solidify a strong definition of what character is. So let me ask you a couple of questions very quickly here. In New York, where are you right now? Just for the record, Steve, where are you right now, this moment, physically speaking, geographically speaking? Where are you right now?
I'm in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay, you're in Virginia. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Okay, when was the last time that you visited? There is a very popular statue in New York that I will say most people around the world, there is a large number of people around the world that know that statue, regardless of whether they have been to New York or not. Can you tell me the name of that statue? Do you know what that is?
Well, I would say that it's the Statue of Liberty.
Okay, and you are in Norfolk, Virginia, right? I'm in Dallas, Texas. If I were to ask you to describe in the position of that statue, how would you describe it?
The position of the statue?
Yes.
Well, the position of the statue, it's uplifted toward the heavens, holding a fire torch that shows the truth.
Okay. And assuming everything remains equal, assuming that no catastrophe happens, no tsunami hits New York, or no earthquake, assuming that everything remains equal, what would be the position of that statue tomorrow?
Exactly the same.
How about a month from now?
Yeah.
How about a year from now?
Yeah, let me say this. 9/11, which has been 9/11.
18, 17 years?
Yeah, it's been 17 years ago, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the Statue of Liberty with my brother-in-law and my son Andrew and my son Josh. And 17 years, my son Josh was 9 years old. And we went into the Statue of Liberty, to the inside of it. And it's a shell, basically, like an erector set in there. It's just a shell that's got, like all these like scaffoldings everywhere, and it's got stairs. And we walked up to the top, and it kept getting smaller and smaller stairways. And we went all the way up and were able to stand and look out from the crown into the harbor. And it was one of the last times people were allowed to do that for years. I don't know if they reopened it. But I tell you that because we were there 11 days before 9/11, and we walked over to the World Trade Center. We rode the Staten Island Ferry. We did all those things. But what I want to tell you is 17 years ago, the Statue of Liberty looked exactly the same as she does now, as beautiful as she does, shining the light of freedom. And I'm catching on to the beautiful point you're giving. There's a constant here.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you for taking us back 17 years ago, and thank you for telling me that it will remain exactly the same if nothing changes a year or 17 years from now. So that's the first definition of character. That's character. Character is when I know your position even though I'm not looking at you. That's character. Character is when I know how you're going to act or what you're going to say, who you are, even though it's been 17 years that I have not seen you. That's character. Character is predictable. Character is something that I can rely on even though I don't have under my control. Meaning your character, I can rely on your character even though I'm not controlling it. Let me ask you another question though. So once again, character is when I know your position, and I'm not talking about a physical body position. I'm talking about your mentality. I'm talking about your heart. I'm talking about your emotions, your attitude, the way you talk. What do you say? You that you are listening to this show, what do you say when the music comes on and Steve starts talking? What do you say when you close the doors and nobody's able to hear what you say? Who are you at 2 a.m. in the morning, 2 a.m. in front of your computer, right, at home when nobody's able to look at you? What do you do at that time, right? That's character. When I know your actions and positions, even though I'm not looking at you. Yeah, you want to comment on that, Steve?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Now, this is just, okay. One of the things, my mother passed 19 years ago. My mother's name is Rose. And, hey, I want to say this. My daughter's pregnant, and she let me know the other day she's like halfway there, 20 weeks. And the middle name of the daughter that she's going to have is going to be Rose. So I just kind of want to shed a tear for a second here of joy.
Okay.
I mean, that's so beautiful for me, is to have my daughter let me know that. So, but why I tell you that is this. Whenever you are with someone whose mother has passed and you want to give them some comfort, I learned this and I share it because it happened to me. And it's a demonstration of character that you just gave. And I got to tell you, once again, this is like a setup, but you said it's unscripted, so it's the way we are. And I pray that everyone finds a friend that they can have conversation and connect with and have a chemistry like we have, Misael. So when my mother passed, I experienced something. We all, when we have a parent that's no longer in this living world with us, there's an emptiness there. There's a loneliness there. There's a void we miss when we love that parent. But here's what I tell people, that you will always, when you know that you wish your mother was here to turn to and ask something, because who knows you better than anyone else in the whole wide world is your mother. Your mother,
absolutely,
who raised you and nurtured you and cared for you, and mothers are like that. They do for their children more than they ever think to do for themselves. That's a good mother. Well, yes. But here's the comfort that I give people when they've lost their mother, because I personally experienced this. When there's these times where life's hard and I'm looking for an answer and I don't know what to do, I meditate and I can close my eyes and I can see my mother, who I know's up in heaven, looking down at me. But I turn to my mother and I ask her to advise me and to counsel me as to what it is that I need to know. And I tell everyone, your mother will always be there with you for the rest of your life, because anytime you want to turn to your mother, she will give you the answer that she would have given you had she been here physically in the same room. Why? Because you know what your mother would say to you if you take the time to turn to thinking about your mother, because that's how well you know your mother. That is because you know your mother's character.
Absolutely.
You know the person that she is.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
For sure. No, absolutely. That's it's unchanging, right? It's unchanging. So very, very quickly, another question on that note, right? We use a set of letters, right? There are 27 in total that we use to write to compose notes and books and everything. What's the name of that sequence of letters that we call? What is that? What am I talking about, Steve?
They are characters.
Yeah. But why do they call it the alphabet? But what do they call it characters though? Why is that?
Why do they call? Because each one has its own distinct personality.
Absolutely, but also because they are unchanging. You see, A is an A, whether you're writing it in French, German, Spanish, English, whatever other language, with the exception of Asian languages. But A is an A at 2 a.m. in the morning, 2 a.m., right? A is an A, when it's dark, when it's light. A is an A, and also occupies the same position. You will never see an A in the alphabet after B, or you will never see an A in the middle of X, Y, and Z in the alphabet. You will never see that. A always have the same position. That's why they call it characters. Number, they call it characters. Why? They are unchanging. So what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is that character is a commitment to a set of values without compromise.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Character is when you commit, right, to a position, to an attitude, to a way of being, to the way to carry yourself, to a way of life. So you are committed to a set of values without compromising those set of values. The Statue of Liberty is not compromising the position because it get cold, or the Statue of Liberty is not compromising the position because it was too hot, or because it was a lot of smoke coming from the World Trade Center when the collapse happened. None of that, because the Statue of Liberty is a character. And because it is a character, it is attached to a position. In our case, as human beings, is a set of values without compromise. The question is, Misael, Steve, what are values? Simply, very simple. Values are things that we value. That's it. Okay? Values are things that we value. If you don't value whatever that is, then they're not values. And more importantly, Steve, your values are not of value until they cost you something, right? So if you have a set of values that you have never paid anything for them, in reality, they're not values, okay? Your values become valuable when you pay something for them. So, your marriage vows, right? That's valuable to you, right? I'm faithful to my wife. You're faithful to your wife. Why? Because you want people to believe in who you are, to believe your character, to believe your words. Why? Because, the weight of your words is your character, right? In other words, your life, Steve, my life gives weight to my words, right?
May I interject on what you just said real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of people are looking for practical application sometimes on some of these beautiful conversations that we have, and I want to throw one out there. In my lessons that I have on building your credit and what credit is all about, my definition of credit is you will have. What's the best way to to have good credit? It's to honor your good name. It's to do what you say you're going to do. And when you go to a bank to get a loan, everybody, I'd like to just point this out, make it real straightforward. The lesson that we're giving right now, that Misael is really getting deep into what is character. If you listen and develop good character, if you have good character qualities and good character traits, it will give you better credit when you go to a bank to establish a loan. Because one of the main criteria that credit lenders look at is what is the character of the person? What is the history of this person's behavior as it relates to doing the right thing and honoring their commitment, doing what they say they're going to do? So just pull that out of this, is that if nothing else, if you think you're just listening to a lot of poetry and abstractions on beautiful character, and I'm going to put in the plug, when you talked about the characters and their constant, a rose by any other name is still a rose. And that's a thank you to my mother. My mother's name is Rose.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, and you're talking about that. You're talking to a bank and getting a loan or doing something or promising something, right? And that talks about your standards, right? Character is a dedication to a set of standards, Steve. That's what character is. You're dedicated to a set of standards. And so when you promise something, your standards reveal your character. Why? Because your standards will prevent you from doing something that is below your standards. You will never see me compromise my standards. Steve, I personally did. I don't remember sharing this with you, but almost 3 years ago now, I quit a job where I was making $90,000 as a base salary simply because I was asked to do something that violated my character. I left the company cold turkey without having a plan B simply because someone asked me to violate my values and my character, and I quit.
Do you know what an excellent synonym for character is?
Yeah.
integrity. And this is a quote by Tom Dungy, the football coach that retired from Indianapolis Colts.
Mm-hmm.
The choice